You're listening to Sell the Damn Service, the podcast for service providers who want to scale sustainably, book out with high value clients, and make serious money without jumping on the 6 figures in 7 minutes hype train. Most of the advice out there is built for one-to-many offers, low-price digital products, and hustle-heavy marketing. But if you want to stay in the service industry and still grow big, the truth is you're not being spoken to until now. I'm Emylee Williams, an award-winning business owner who sold millions in the online space through both services and digital products. And after all of that, here's what I know for sure. Services are still the fastest, most sustainable path to consistent revenue. So if you're ready for yapping, hot takes, and straight up conversations about what it really takes to sell and scale your services, you're in the right place. Today, I want to talk about the problem with how we are taught to scale and sell and market service-based businesses. Here's what I see time and time again. And I see this from a space of someone who has been in this industry since 2011 in various capacities and has worked with over 30,000 paying clients and customers. Some of those people, a lot of those people, were for digital products, and a good chunk of those people were for high-end services, both done with you and done for you. I have also led my own, what I consider a boutique agency, twice, once at the very beginning of my career and once right now, where I work one-on-one with clients, both in strategy, high-level advising, consulting strategy, and implementation, actually doing the things inside of your business and done with you, advising and doing a little bit, and then also strategizing with you to give you a game plan, right? And give feedback and brainstorm. And so I know I've ran the gamut, all right? I have sold everything from free offers to $7 a month memberships to $27 mini courses to $500 courses to $10,000 group programs and $60,000 to $80,000 one-on-one services, and literally everything in between, okay? And so know that whatever ranty opinion I might have about this industry and about how things are marketed and sold and we're being taught to do things, it's because I've been in it, right? I have been also marketed to and sold to in the way that I'm going to bitch about here on this show. I have also convinced myself of the same lies that you have about business and scaling and growing and refining and all of the things. And because I'm now back to working one-on-one with other service-based business owners, and I've been doing that since 2023 on my own, I have a pulse on what you all are seeing and doing and thinking right now. That is why this is the high horse I will get on. That is why it is so important to be listening to people who are currently in the space that you are in, right? I'm not saying don't listen to people who aren't ahead of you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I have beef with people who are marketing to one-on-one service-based business owners and are telling them things like, you really need to grow your list, buy my course about how to grow your list. Or you really need to be on Instagram and posting short form content, buy my course on how to make reels, on how to monetize Instagram. Or you really need to insert something, buy my template, buy this course, do this thing, right? And they might be marketing it for service providers, but it's working for them in a one-to-many business, but they're telling you it's going to work for you in your one-to-one business. And I'm not saying that it won't work. I'm saying it's not necessary. And we all, at the end of the day, have to choose where we're spending our time and attention. And I thought that we had gotten rid of, there's a certain phrase that's prevalent in this community. And I honestly thought the phrase was done and we were over it. And then quite literally in an intake form about a month ago, someone said, I just want, and what's the phrase? Does anyone, let me hear it from the crowd? Passive income. And I want to talk about not just the fib of passive income, the delusion of passive income, but I want to talk about how this show and the conversations that we have here and my philosophy in general is, at the end of the day, you get to decide to do what you want, right? You can listen to everything I'm saying and you can say, that girl is full of baloney. I'm going to go try to do this thing over here. And I love that for you. Truly, legitimately love that for you. There are also nuances to what I'm saying that aren't just opinion, but are actual facts, because there's a thing called math that exists in the world. And there's a thing called like industry standard conversion rates and expectations. Again, not to say that you might not blow them out of the ballpark or that someone else couldn't, but it's a standard for a reason, because it's what's generally expected. And I base my goal setting and my expectations on what is standard, right? I do tend to, humble brag, exceed standard conversion rates or expectations or signups or whatever you want to talk about. And I still base my goal setting on standard, right? Because I can't control that. Okay, it just happens. And so I'm saying all of this to say, take what you want from my rants and my biz yelling strategy at you and leave the rest. Not everything is going to apply to you. There are going to be instances of things that I'm saying and you're going to say, I'm going to prove her wrong. And I want you to, I wish you would, and then tell me all about it, right? But the reason why this show exists and the reason why I'm going to continue to rant is because there is this lack of nuance and understanding in this space. When someone says, that's going to work for you, or it's not going to work for you, or this is the strategy that you should follow. And it's tended to just be argued with and argued to death about how, well, they're not saying that it couldn't work for one-on-one people. You just have to, and then what follows is this long description and explanation of how you have to basically hack it to death and completely restructure it to work for how you work in your business and how you work with clients in order for it to work for you. And so to that I say, then you're not following that strategy and you realize that that one-to-many strategy doesn't actually work for you and isn't designed to work for you. And them selling you on the idea of it is their entire business model. It's how they get paid. It's how they grow their audience, right? Let me do this thing once and I get a decent result from it. It might not even be amazing, but stats can be statted to be sexy, And so we're going to sexify some stats and create some marketing around it. And now all of a sudden I'm the person that sells you how to do the thing that worked for me once, that now is how I make my money. It's marketing and selling inception. And it's so easy to fall for. It's so easy to get bought into the idea that could work for us. And not even that it could work with us, because that's honestly that's not my argument here. It's whether you want it to work for you. It's whether you want to spend the time and energy on doing what would be required for it to work for you. Active or passive selling, passive sales requires active marketing. Okay? Which is fine. It's just a fact. That's not an opinion. It is a fact. Active selling can support passive marketing. Okay, so I want to explain. If I was just having this conversation in the pool with someone yesterday, if I have a one-on-one service, right? and it has a clear result, it has a clear deliverable. Here's what's happening, right? All of that we can work on together if you don't have it. But let's imagine I have all of that. And I've got my network. I've got some people referring me. I've got past clients. I've got like a couple of levers that I pull when it comes to marketing. Maybe I go to an in-person networking event. Maybe I post on Instagram every now and then when I feel like it. Maybe I go on this one person's podcast and I talk about my services, and that's how I get booked out, right? It's an easy, low lift effort. It can feel pretty passive because it doesn't have to be like consistently all the time, right? And those efforts are enough to sustain the leads that I need, that I can support, because I don't need that many, because how I convert those people is very active, right? Someone gets email introduced to me, for example, and I have to email the person back. And I'm either asking questions and having a conversation inside email actively, or I'm having that conversation and directing them to book a call with me so we can actively have a conversation. And I'm asking questions about their problems and their needs and their situation and what they've got going on. And if they have a problem that I can fix, then I make the decision to send them a proposal or not, or book a sales call with them or not, depending on my process, right? Depending on the container. So then I actively go make that proposal or customize a template or create a checkout link or whatever. And then I either record a Loom that walks them through that proposal, or we hop on a call and we go over it, or we meet in person for coffee and we go over it. Those are all active things. I'm actively selling, actively converting and nurturing this relationship toward the finish line, if it makes sense, right? And then this prospect decides if it's right for them or not, and then they enroll or they don't. They sign and pay or they don't. And then I'm going to delivery and actually supporting the thing, right? So passive marketing, meaning someone could have just dropped that referral in my inbox. I could have met someone at a networking event and we clicked, and then we decided to have a coffee date, and then a coffee date, and then a discovery call, right? That's all very active. Selling with passive lead generation, passive marketing to get to the point where you can sell, right? But passive income, passive sales, and the actual like generation of revenue passively requires very active marketing. So in the same sense that we just literally take that upside down and we say, okay, instead of actively trying to get the sale, someone's just going to go to a sales page, a checkout page, and they're going to buy, right? But to get them to do that thing requires a lot of activity on the front end. Maybe just before that, they're put down a nurturing email sequence, a selling sequence. Maybe to get to the selling sequence, they had to participate in a challenge or buy another product or come to a free training or engage in your content in some way. And maybe before that, they had to even see your content on Threads and YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or wherever, right? So we're just flipping it. You're either spending your time actively marketing so that you can generate sales, and actively marketing to a larger group of people, because typically when you have that model, your price point is lower, and so therefore you need more sales in order to reach your revenue goals. Or you're actively selling and you don't need as many leads, and so you don't have to have as much content and as much consistent marketing activity. You just have to identify the levers that do work when you pull them, right? Like I'm not at all saying you get to just sit at home and wait for someone to email you a lead. There's putting yourself out there that also has to happen. But it's not in the content creation. It's not the dog and pony show. Is that the phrase? I think horse and pony? Dog and pony. Whatever. It's not that online, right? And what I mean by like that active marketing is quite literally calling up a friend and saying, hey, I offer this as a service. Do you know anyone who needs it? Right? It's going back into your old contacts and saying, Hey, my packages have been refined. Here's what I'm doing. Do you know anyone who needs it? Hey, I'm opening up slots for next quarter for this container. Do you know anyone who needs it? Introduce me. That's part of it, right? That's getting yourself out there. Yes, that's active, but you're not doing that every single day, because if you did, you would be inundated. Inundated? You would be inundated with leads that you couldn't sustain, and so you don't do that because you don't need it, right? So, all of that rant to say, when you're being marketed to for digital products or why you need to engage in active marketing for your service business, it's because they're trying to sell you something. Okay? And what they're selling you has nothing to do with actually making your service better or you working with clients better. It's so that you can generate leads for a different product that they're also going to convince you that you need to create in order to bridge the gap. Because what happens is service providers come to me when they have worked with some clients and they've made 2K, 5K, 7, 8, 9K. It's different for everyone. And maybe they've had a great month at one point where it was like a 12K month or a 20K month, right? But they haven't been able to consistently do that. And they're informed enough that they know about how many clients they can work with per month. And they've had the conversation that every single one-on-one, especially done for you service providers, have had, where it's like, okay, let me pull up my calendar or my calculator and beep boop bop the numbers to realize if this is what I'm charging and this is how long it takes me to do this service, here's how many clients I can work with, right? It's typically 3 to 5. Okay, so we're going to multiply 3 to 5 by the amount that we're charging, and therefore that's how much money I'm going to be making per month. And either that number is great and amazing and it feels perfect for you, and you're like, cool, now I just need to figure out how to close that many people per month. Therefore, I need to be put in front of this many leads and opportunities per month. Easy. For most of you, that number isn't enough. And there are a couple levers that we can pull, right? These are conversations I have with people inside of my container sold out services, gentle plug, where I'm like, okay, do we need to raise the price? Do we need to productize it a bit so that we can get some of your time back so that you can serve one more person? Like, are you just missing the gap by one person? And that's a simple structure, right? But for some of you, the gap is big because you want to make really good money per month, like stupid good money. I love that for you. I am also of that mentality, right? And then you do the math and you're like, okay, but that would mean I would need to work with 20 clients per month, and that's not doable. Or that would mean I would need to 4x my price, and with my current market, current client, current service, current whatever, that's not doable. And so typically the people I work with, we have to do this kind of hybrid approach, right? And that's a whole other conversation. But what I'm trying to get you to picture here is you at that spot. We all reach that spot at different revenue milestones and gaps of opportunity, right? Maybe your gap is $1,500. Maybe it's $15,000, okay? Either way, you're sitting there and you're like, as of right now, this is what I'm making. This is what I want to make. And I don't have any capacity to work with any more clients. So therefore, I'm letting in all of these one-to-many marketing people who've been flooding me with stories and information, and I've made 6 figures in 7 minutes journeys. And I'm saying, what if that could work for me? What if that's something I wanted to integrate into my business? And so maybe you start to, you buy a little mini course on Instagram Reels and batching content, and maybe even starting a YouTube channel, right? And you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to start to consistently show up here and do this. What happens is a couple of things. There are two realizations that aren't being made fast enough when you are entertaining this idea. And one of them is You don't realize the energy and the type of activities that are required to actively market that type of business because you have not been actively marketing up until this point. And that's either because you don't know how or you don't want to, or both, right? And the energy that it takes to sustain, to create content, release content, be consistent with content, and not just content, but understanding the game of marketing, because that's all it is. Marketing is a game of what's working right now, what's trending right now, what can we test, how unique can we be to show up to catch the attention of our ideal client, right? Some people love playing that game. A lot of service providers don't, but you convince yourself that you have to play the game anyway to bridge your revenue gap because you're not seeing any other option to do that. So that's one side. We don't understand the marketing efforts that are required to sustain that kind of business. The other part of this that enough people are not talking about and are not figuring out, sometimes, I'm not going to say it's too late because we can always evolve and pivot. Always. Don't ever feel like it's too late. But where you go down the rabbit hole and you try that marketing game, and maybe you sustain it for a month and then you drop off and then you come back and then you drop off and then you come back. And that's working enough for you where you're making a couple of sales and okay, it's fine. But again, you look at the gap and you're like, okay, my gap was this much. And so I started selling lower price containers, which means I need more sales in order to bridge that gap because they're literally cheaper. And that means I need more leads, which means I need more active marketing in order to get in front of those leads, et cetera, right? And so what you don't realize, and I say this as someone who woke up one day after doing this, after working one-on-one done for you for years and getting burnt out because I was over capacity and I could not imagine what it would take for me to work with even one more client, I was going to lose my mind. I didn't want to hear one more email or revision request. I was in creative. And so for those of you who are in creative, it's a whole other world for us out there. And I was so burnt out. I was over it. I literally threatened to quit if I got sent another client. And so I pivoted and I started offering low-priced digital offers. And at first, the marketing game was really fun for me. I am someone who loves a challenge and loves tinkering and data and testing and figuring things out. I like being on camera and having a podcast and speaking, and I like doing all of that. That part wasn't the problem for me. What I didn't realize, when I woke up one day truly and was like, holy shit, this is what I did unknowingly on accident. But it seemed so obvious once I actually looked at it. I had inadvertently started an entirely new business. I was calling it the same thing. It was under the same umbrella. But what I had done was I had effectively branched off my business into two separate containers in two different tracks. One person who is this type of business owner who needed a certain level of services done for them, who had a certain budget and desire. And then this person who was at the complete opposite end of the spectrum of client A, right? With a completely different budget, much lower, completely different objections, needs, problems, and goals that this container over here couldn't serve. So I had built an entirely different business that I thought was weaved into my current core structure, but it was a cousin, not even a sibling. That's how different they were. Okay? So what we don't realize when we go down that rabbit hole is that we can very easily and accidentally cannibalize our own offers. If I've been doing something done for you for so long, this is what I see so many times. You're doing something done for you for so long that you say, okay, well, I need to create a low price digital offer in order to have more sales and get more leads and bridge this gap. So what am I going to create? I'll just create the DIY version of what I've been doing. You've immediately devalued your service. You've confused your brand and your audience, your community. You've created now where when you go to create content, when you do get the energy to do that, if you talk to your low budget DIY folks, you're not going to be attracting the clients who've been working with you. If you're going to make the effort to put yourself out online and talk about what it's like working with you and the problem that you solve, why wouldn't you just talk to the person you've already been selling to and who is at a much mature, because I don't like saying higher or lower level. I don't love the implication of that. So they're at a much mature space in business and goals and desires and problems, right? If you're gonna take the energy to create content and put it out there, why wouldn't we do it for those people? Why aren't we sitting here and asking ourselves, okay, I need to bridge the revenue gap. What do I need to do to increase capacity? Your options are to spend less time on delivery or hire so that you can spend less time on delivery. Those are your only options. That's it. I get that those might not sound desirable, or you might not know how to do that, or you might be coming to me with a lot of stories and assumptions about, well, if I hire, they're not going to deliver the same way. If I productize, it's not going to feel custom or one-on-one. Baloney, first of all. Second of all, do you not think that either A, you're skilled enough to figure out how to make it feel that way, or that you could work with someone who could make you feel that way? Oftentimes we let our burnout and our overcapacity cloud where our next shift should be. And I have said for years and years that I'm a huge fan of the pivot, right? When you need to pivot in your business, you pivot all day long. And my refinement to that language that I've said for years is that I'm a fan of the gentle pivot. I am not a fan of the turn the business upside down and now we play in that arena, or create an entirely new offer that speaks to a brand new client or audience member and completely branch off from what we've been building and growing. I'm a fan of taking what we have that is working and analyzing the root of what is actually the problem and taking that, picture it like you're holding it in your hands like an orb, and you just gently twist it. Just one turn. And one turn sometimes is all it needs for it to feel more sustainable for you, for it to reach and bridge that revenue gap, for it to serve you in the way that you've always wanted it to. But instead of having introspection and self-reflection and analyzing our offers and our pricing and our messaging and our delivery and our systems and our support and our team and all of those things, instead of doing that, we allow ourselves to fall into the shiny new thing syndrome, which I do, and I get it. I say it because I've done it. And I still had to very actively remind myself to not do that sometimes. This is still a thing. It's a muscle that most of us have to continuously exercise. And so what I'm asking you to do, especially in the lens of this show, is to put the stories that we are telling ourselves about what we can do, what we don't want to do, what we're no longer willing to do, what we hate about our business right now. And let's just stop assigning meaning to those things and instead look at the strategies and the techniques and the conversations that we're having here through a lens of, what if I didn't have to start another business? What if I didn't have to sell something low price? What if I didn't start marketing on 3 social media platforms? What would it look like then? What could it look like then? And this show is meant to at least present you with the options that are available to you, because the options of me selling you shit about how to grow on Instagram or run ads or start a YouTube channel or create a new freebie and a challenge and an opt-in and grow your list and nurture your list and sell to your list, that is everywhere. It's everywhere. The conversations that we're having here tend to be a lot quieter because service people are working with their clients and they don't have time to do this. And I feel like the reason why I'm stepping into this space is because from day one, I've been an educator at heart. I love, love, love doing something, learning something, turning around and talking about it. I'm an open book. I'm an oversharer when it comes to business strategy and numbers. Ask me anything. And so what better platform than this, right? And what is so funny is that even my own container, my capacity is like 6 people a month. And so I'm doing the thing, right? I went from my max capacity was like 3 to I've doubled it with structure and systems behind the scenes. And I'm still in this space of figuring out, okay, well, what is the next move for me? I was having a conversation yesterday with a friend. She was like, okay, but if you had right now, if you had to pick something to outsource and offload, what would it be? And it was really hard for me to even think about what that could be. Immediately goes to like podcast stuff, right? But that's not going to help me serve more people because I'm, you know what I mean? So I'm here in it with you. And it's a constant reflection on what is the lens that I, a one-on-one service provider, can begin to put my business through in order to scale and grow. I know how to help you get there if you're at 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10K per month, right? And some of you are making like even, 12, 13, 15K per month, and it's still like kind of a shit show behind the scenes. And so we can fix that. But this is like the building out loud, as they say on Threads, right? That's what this is. And I'm going to learn something in between all this gabbing, and I hope you do too. And so I would love for you to share your thoughts. Go DM me on Instagram at Emylee Says, EmyleeSays. Link is in the show notes. And let's have the conversation. Let's talk about it. Let's brainstorm. Let's have some gentle pivots. And let's understand this show is here to unpack all of the stories that we allow online marketing to tell us and convince us. And I'm here to just provide another perspective. One that you can say, I don't like it. I'm going to do something else. Fine. I just want to show you what is possible, what could happen, what an alternative reality could look like for you. And I hope you get some inspiration. And if there's anything that you ever implement from this show that does something crazy for you, you are legally required to tell me. You're not, but you are. So go DM me and tell me when things click for you and if it results in anything cool. Thank you so much for listening to Sell the Damn Service. If you loved what you heard today, do me a quick favor. Hit subscribe, leave a rating, and drop a review. It seriously helps more service providers find the show, and it keeps me yapping into this mic every week. It's a nice, free, easy lift way for you to support the show. And hey, if you've got a friend who needs to hear this, please send this episode their way. The more people selling their damn services with confidence, the better this whole industry gets. See you next time.